Welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape. Now these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Ijaw leaders declare war on Wike, tell President Tinubu to call him to order, dare him to impeach Fubara. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolaritutoju. Good to see you, BK.
Yeah, good evening, Ibrahim. Good to do this with you today. And I say a big thank you to our loyal fans for all their support.
That's right. So let's get right into the matter. The Supreme Igbesu Assembly, known as the SEA, that's a revered traditional institution of the Ijaw people, has issued a stern warning that it will shock President Bola Ahmed Tinubu if Rivers State Governor Simla Fubara is impeached. And if you look at Ijaw leaders, they have a long-standing history of advocating for the rights and interests of their people in the Niger Delta region. How do you describe the current political tension between Governor Fubara and Nyesom Wike, especially after the Supreme Court's judgment and the outbursts that have come from both parties?
I think I am a little more optimistic about peace than I was some months back. One, I've always said that it is the judiciary that can resolve that issue. I've always said that I do not believe that some form of dialogue solve the problem. I believe that with both sides digging in at that time, that only the judicial pronouncement can clear that political fog that was hanging over Rivers State. Because both sides had made up their minds not to bend over backwards for peace and for the resolution of those long-standing issues. Where the governor insisted that he will run the assembly with 3 persons, and he declared, based on promptings by some of his supporters and some opportunistic lawyers, he was dealing with just 3 lawmakers. There used to be 4. He appointed one of them as chief of staff, and they became 3 members. 3 members of the House of Assembly sitting and passing the governor's 1.1 trillion budget in record time. You will expect that that kind of budget, they will take their time to look at it. But 3 individuals looked at the budget, no questions asked, they simply passed the budget. I was worried at that time because I had never seen anything like that. 3 persons running the State House of Assembly, effectively now balanced and on the weighing heavily on the side of Wike and the 27 House of Assembly members who are loyal to him. Now, as you can see, because the Supreme Court ruled that Rivers State should not be entitled to allocation unless, of course, it presents the budget to the assembly led by Martin Amewule. This was a judgment that Justice Omotosho of the Port Harcourt of the Federal High Court, Port Harcourt, had earlier given, that the governor ignored. Now, you know why I am a little optimistic? The governor has indicated his desire to implement the decision of the Supreme Court. Wike also gave 2 conditions today, that the governor should go and present the budget to the House. And secondly, he should send his list of commissioners for screening. As far as is concerned, the screening done by 3 members is illegal, and so a properly constituted House should conduct fresh screening. This, no doubt, if they continue to insist on this, no doubt, amounts to the humiliation of the governor. But these are people he has been working with for almost 2 years. So bringing a list of commissioners back for clearance would effectively mean that the governor has eaten the humble pie. But in my view, you stoop to conquer. The governor is interested in peace. So if representing those commissioners for proper screening, since it wasn't a properly constituted House of Assembly that screened them in the first place, then of course the governor needs to go ahead, do it. Hopefully, once that is done, then some of these issues that we have with Rivers State will have been effectively cleared. But the politicking will continue. Wike is known for his outrageous and sometimes irresponsible remarks. There is no need for anyone to politicize or ethnicize what is going on in Rivers State. There are Ijaws who support the governor. There are Ijaws who will never support the governor. Some of the 27 lawmakers loyal to Nyesom Wike are actually Ijaws. Some of them are Ijaws. So it's not as if all Ijaws are on one side. So Wike has to be careful the kind of comments that he's making. Whatever he does, whatever he says, that will appear to disparage the Ijaws, make them look little amongst their peers in Rivers State, is something that stands condemned. No one should support the disparaging of an ethnic group by a minister of the Federal Republic. Some of the comments that Wike made, yes, he may have been angered by repeated threats that pipelines will be blown up and all that. But some of the comments that he made, including even his insults heaped on PANDEF leaders, should be condemned. And I agree with those who are saying that Mr. President needs to talk to his minister to stop making incendiary comments capable of heating up the politics. We are coming out of a big crisis, which the Supreme Court has helped us to resolve. The Supreme Court has said all 27 members are legal members of the House of Assembly. The Supreme Court has said that you can only be deemed a member of another party if you have his membership card and if your name appears on his register. The names of the 27 lawmakers loyal to Wike do not appear on the register of the APC. So they can't be said to have officially joined the party. As far as the Supreme Court is concerned, those were the two conditions precedent that the Supreme Court spoke about, calling the Ijaws minority of the minority and saying that they are not the only people who can blow up pipelines and all that. Such remarks are not good enough. When Minister Wike is doing his media chat, he abuses people, he says things that somebody of his stature shouldn't be saying publicly. The Ijaws are a dominant ethnic group in Nigeria. Most likely the fourth biggest ethnic group in our country. They are in different states of our country, just like the thieves. The thieves are not limited to Benue. You will find the thieves in Nasarawa. You will find the thieves in Taraba. So the Ijaws are to be found in different states, even outside of the South. You have them in Edo State, you have them in Ondo State, which is not even a South state. Insulting them, insulting their leaders, insulting the traditional institution is not something that we want to see. For example, you called PANDEF the worst organization anybody can rely on. And the PANDEF leadership are telling Mr. President, who just had a meeting with them last week, that he needs to be spoken to, that they take strong restriction to him disrespecting eminent Nigerians and traditional rulers in PANDEF with his incendiary remarks. Today, the Ijaw women blocked the road to stop a reception in honor of Wike in Asaritoru local government area of Rivers State. Now, the same Wike who complained, who said that some people said Governor Fubara was not an Ijaw person. He is now giving people the impression that those who come from the Okpobo clan of Rivers State are not Ijaws. And he was saying, let nobody deceive you. Governor Fubara is not an Ijaw person. You see, listen to him. He said, let nobody deceive you that the governor is Ijaw. All of you are Ijaw. Are you benefiting? He then went on to say we must come up to say people must not behave and treat people, use and dump them, and then you say it's politics. That politics has to stop. So his anger remains the way the governor effectively brushed him aside after becoming the governor of the state by his grace and the grace of God. So you can see now that he's even trying to divide the Ijaws by saying the governor is not an Ijaw person. The same thing that he had condemned in the past, the same remarks that he had condemned in the past, that when he picked the governor, they were telling him that he was not a proper Ijaw person. He is now saying it to the Ijaw and Kalabari leaders and stakeholders who honored him today. I think that as much as possible, the president needs to talk to Wike. Let him focus on his job as minister in Abuja and stop heating up the polity with statements capable of stoking the embers of war, statements capable of inflaming passions. Rivers is a very precarious state. It's a state where violent combustions can happen at any time. And both Wike and the governor must come to peace. That is what people want to see. No real progress can happen in an atmosphere devoid of peace.
Absolutely.
So Wike have to guide his utterances. I'm not impressed by the way he's trying to put down the Ijaw people, saying that they are minority of minorities in all the states of the South except Bayelsa State. And he said clearly that an Ijaw son cannot win an election in any part of the South except in Bayelsa State, that it is only in Bayelsa that they constitute majority. The majority, a candidate from majority tribe does not necessarily will not necessarily win an election. There are governors today that I know who do not belong to the majority tribe, but they won election all the same. The Bauchi governor, for example, is one of such persons.
Yeah, but BKO, the Ijaw leaders argue that their people are being sidelined in River State's political landscape. But historically, have ethnic considerations played a role in past troubles in the Niger Delta? And to what extent is that a factor in this crisis?
It's a factor, no doubt about it. When Rotimi Amechi picked Tonye Cole, okay, Dakuku, when he picked Dakuku Peter side, what the PDP simply did was to pick somebody from Ikwere land. Because the Ikweres may not have more than 3 local governments, but those local governments are quite big. You know, local governments like Falga, you know, like Ikwere local government, they are, in terms of population, they are quite big. They are the size of like 4 or 5 local governments put together. It's just like in Kano. Kano municipal local government will swallow, in some cases, up to 6 or 7 local governments. The votes coming from there. So you can actually have fewer local governments and still win an election. It all depends on the population in those few local governments. So the Ikwere local government, Falga, for example, they have quite big. And once the PDP picked someone from Ikwere land, that is Nyesom Wike, it won the election easily. But in this struggle, some people are trying to ethnicize the conflict in Rivers State, but they've not really succeeded that much, because you still find Ijaws, for example, who are not on the side of the governor. You still find Ikweres who are not on Wike's side. So somehow, this whole conflict is not defined by ethnicism, from what I've seen. There are those who don't want to have anything to do with Wike because they believe it's overbearing and that the state needs a governor who will have the independence of mind to do his job. But it is on record that since 1999, this is the first Ijaw son to become governor of Rivers State. And what Wike is saying is, if the thing were to be left, if a level playing field had been allowed for the candidates, the different candidates of different parties, Governor Fubara would not have won because they belong to it belongs to one of the minority tribes. That is the point that is making. So, so um, our politics, you cannot wish away ethnicity and religion from our politics. It's not, we have not reached that point. And people will always like to vote for somebody from their own ethnic group. So for so long, Rivers politics had been dominated by recent politics. Politics of Rivers State in recent times has been dominated by the Queries, the Odilis, the Yison Wikes. You know, Yison Wike had 2 terms. Odili had 2 terms. Amechi had 2 terms. They are all equations. They are all equations. But
Interesting stuff.
yes, but the Wike opted for an Ijaw son this time around, and he seems to have regretted his action because what he expected from the governor was not what he found. So,
Wow.
but it is not a reason for Wike to be making the kind of remarks that he's making about the job people, you know, saying that they do not have, saying that the heavens will not fall if the governor gets impeached. I would have expected that he would not, even the matter of impeachment, he would not want to talk about it. But by saying that the heavens will not fall if the governor is impeached, he has given um, people listening to him the feeling that he will not mind the governor being impeached. That's the interpretation that anybody will give that.
All right.
They
That's
will
right.
have the feeling that he will do whatever it takes to make sure that the governor gets impeached.
That's right, PK.
Son cannot win an election in any part of the South except in Bayelsa State, that it is only in Bayelsa that they constitute majority. The majority, a candidate from majority tribe does not necessarily will not necessarily win an election. There are governors today that I know who do not belong to the majority tribe, but they won election all the same. The Bauchi governor, for example, is one of such persons.
Yeah, calling it war is unnecessary. The focus should be on governance, not political power struggles. The people of Rivers State deserve peace, not endless fights. And about the last one I'll take is Shegun Olale saying, the Rivers crisis is a distraction from real governance. Let both parties sit down and resolve their issues. The people need progress, not practical drama. So, BKO, because of our time, if you look at Rivers State, is an economic powerhouse in Nigeria, particularly due to its oil wealth. How
Yes.
does political instability, how do you think the political instability would affect business confidence, investment, and economic development in the region, especially as the renewed hope agenda, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is looking to harness all the resources in the state to the benefit of the benefit of the mankind in Nigeria?
Yes, it's important to resolve this matter because oil production could be impacted by unrest in River State, and we do not want to see that. Remember MEND, remember Tompolo, the role that he played some years back when they were when Niger Delta militants were blowing up pipelines. They were targeting Nigerian export terminals and blowing up pipelines. The truth is, the Jaws may not be the majority in the South, but they are in a lot of the big oil producing communities. Oil pipelines, oil installations pass through their communities. So they understand the terrain and they can do a lot of havoc. I remember that Nigeria had to engage them through the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Ijaw, and Vice President then, Oshibajo, before they stopped the sabotage of our um, oil pipelines and our export terminals. And once the matter was sorted out, oil output increased again. At this time when Mr. President is doing his best so that we earn more from oil, based on the fact that a lot of what should come to the government, what should accrue to the government, had already been lost to contract sales that have been done um by the last administration. Nigeria will make more money if we ramp up oil production. Mr. President has given the mandate to the Opus Odema-led committee that they must be able to produce 2.5 million barrels a day. He's looking at earning more foreign exchange through improved oil production. And this cannot happen if, for example, they start sabotaging oil installations and all that. So everyone wants peace because they know what could happen if our pipelines, our crude oil production infrastructure get breached, get sabotaged by angry Niger Delta youths, especially the Ijaws. So that's why we think that at this time, it's better for the two parties to come together. And I like the message from the governor when he said that I'm ready to work wholeheartedly for peace. So they are brothers, they need to see themselves as brothers and they need to find a way to come together and let this matter be buried once and for all. I expect that the House will come back from this adjournment, because the adjournment, when you adjourn Senate, it doesn't mean that in 48 hours you can't come back. The House of Assembly in Lagos adjourned Senate, but they came back under 1 week. So it doesn't mean that they cannot come back even the next day. What it simply means is that no date was given, no date was set for them to resume plenary. So I believe that this is the time for Mr. President to call the warring parties together as a father, call them together and give instructions to both men to go and solve the problem once and for all. I believe that to be beneficial to everyone. We want peace in that state. We want to see the House allow the governor to come and present his budget. And the governor also needs to assure them that he is going to pay their withheld allowances promptly. If I were the governor, for example, I would have even announced that the allowances that I had held, the entitlements of the lawmakers that I had denied them for more than close to 2 years, I am prepared to pay immediately. That would be a measure of goodwill, a sign of goodwill on his part. And then he can expect that that measure of goodwill will be reciprocated. But these are people who have been fighting one another and they are happy to fight one another and they don't trust another. So, but the judgment of the Supreme Court has to be implemented. So the Assembly should not stand in the way of the governor implementing the directive of the highest court in our land. So they should give him the time to come and represent the budget. I think that is the proper thing to do.
That's right. So Bello says, at this rate, River State politics should have its own reality TV show titled Game of Thrones, Port Harcourt edition. Hilarious there. Ejiro Omagbemi says, meanwhile, the roads are still bad, salaries are unpaid, and people are suffering. But let's focus on impeachment battles instead. Priorities, right? I think this message has just been sarcastic here. Well, BKO, your final thoughts. That's our show for today's edition of Issues with JD. Special thanks to you, Babajide Falade Studio, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you, Brian. We hope for peace in River State, and hopefully peace is not far away.
Thank you very much, BKO, and thank you so much, our audience, for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel at TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.